I'm here at the SOTA Tasmania ferry terminal, and I've got to admit, I did not expect to be here sharing this story. I'd love to be here sharing epic SOTA success. It just didn't work out that way, and I was really excited about doing this trip to Tasmania. Tasmania is just a really fantastic place to go and do summits on the air. It's got pristine wilderness, it's got epic mountains. The environment is a really great place to be. But when I had this idea about doing this epic SOTA trip this year, I think I had really high expectations. I knew there was going to be challenges, or I knew, at the very least, I knew the weather, had the potential to really upset the plans.
Originally, I'd set out to tackle 9 different summits over the course of about 7 days. But if you think back to that radar that we looked at on day 2, that's the way the weather stayed for the rest of the trip. There is actually a SOTA summit not far away from here, but we're currently being snowed on. So we might give this little SOTA summit a miss today, but we might go and check out the visitor centre, maybe hope for a hot coffee or something like that. Oh my God, and here we are.
So when I think back on the whole trip, I have to admit, day 1 went pretty well. We were really lucky when I got to Devonport. We had the opportunity to get out there and get a couple of SOTA summits. There was 2 that we got successfully and 1 that we didn't get to. And I think we could have got to that. That was Porcupine Hill. We made the decision on the day not to tackle that one. But when we left from that part of the state, so that was just outside of Devonport, and started heading across towards Tulla, I got some footage of snowflakes getting blown across the road in front of us. And that was probably the turning point where, when we saw snow getting driven horizontally, across that landscape, that was probably the point where I could pinpoint that's where it changed. I think it took me by surprise. And I think I was being optimistic for the first day, the rain would come down really solid rain for half an hour, and then you would get a 5-minute break. And I'd run outside and have a look and go, oh, this could be it. But the weird thing was, from Tulla, there's a couple of really significant mountains that are in view. So you can look up and see Mount Farrell. And then if you look across the water, you can normally see Mount Murchison. Both of those SOTA summits, I really wanted to have a go at them. It wasn't that you couldn't have. I was thinking about this since I've been back. I was waiting for that break in the weather that just didn't come. We got torrential rain on and off. We got snow over 500 metres. It's going to be brutal. So to be so close and then not do them, is challenging. That's not the story I wanted to tell. So the question, I guess, has got to be, what did I learn from that trip? There's got to be something good to come out of this experience. I'm going to say, look, anyone who wants to do Tassie, it's awesome. I've said that a few times. I love it. I absolutely recommend it. I think it's a fantastic place. And I think the summits that they've got down there, there's so many of them. If you manage to get any of them, that's a massive win, but they're great. And I often wonder whether the guys and girls in Tasmania who do summits on the air realise how awesome it is. One of the really interesting things I reckon about Tasmania, which differs from, say, Victoria, is that most of the mountains, you actually have to walk the trails. They don't have drive-ups. It's like we have in Victoria. So I live in Victoria, and look, I haven't done the numbers on this yet, but it seems to me like there's a lot of drive-ups. So if you don't have drive-up shame, that's the dirty little thing about summits on the air in Victoria people don't talk about. It's so easy to go to a whole bunch of 10-point summits, which you can drive right into. Anyway, Tassie's not like that, which is one of the great things about it. You know, and I think about the summits in Victoria, and so many of them, you get there and you're surrounded by trees anyway. There's very little view, you know, or the view's shit. And the other thing about Victoria is that no one wants to admit this, but as far as the environment goes, it's been raped. It's an absolute disaster. Most of Victoria has been cleared. The bits that haven't been cleared are really poorly managed. You know, all the parks and wildlife people will be up in arms right now, right? No. I've been to so many of those parks, you know, and they're overgrown with introduced weeds, thistles. They're not looked after. And the other problem you've got, of course, is here in Australia, you know, we're like wild animals. People do not care about rubbish, looking after the environment. They don't care much about, you know, being respectful of each other. So it's like you've got to laugh about it, because if not, it's actually a pretty sad state. But when you get to Tasmania, it's an entirely different thing. Tasmania is actually beautiful, and there's so few people that, even if they were as wild as Victorians, you wouldn't notice, because it's just so nice there. So yeah, Tassie, absolutely recommend it. I absolutely want to get back. In the meantime, there's a couple of other summits we've got that we're planning to tackle as well. So yeah, all right. I struggled a bit with the failure of the Tassie trip, but I've got some more plans. So hopefully we can share those with you as well. If you've stuck with me this long, thanks for hanging around. We'll see you soon.